Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is Wednesday. So, it's the episode that I've been waiting for since I learned what was going to happen in this episode. Today's episode was Sisters, and this was the return of Barbara Hershey and her character Cora, and I'm still recovering from this whole episode. I seriously cried. I cried. And when I don't mean just like had tears in my eyes. Barbara had me crying to the point where tears were flowing down my face. It was such a beautifully written episode. I think that this is the best episode of Once Upon a Time ever. So, to recap on this week's episode, I think I'll start with just the minor stuff and then go into the whole Mills family situation stuff. So, I guess two words to describe tonight's episode would be sibling rivalry, and you saw that on both sides. You saw David battle his brother James, and he learns that James isn't mad because David was raised by his mother, by their mother, I should say. He's mad because he got all the glory, and he locks David up in the cell, and James tries to pose as David, and I have to say, Emma's superpower is quite rusty because I'm surprised that she wasn't able to tell he was lying. And they go into the forest to meet Robin Hood, and they have this kind of battle between them. Robin Hood tries to shoot him with one of his arrows because, his arrows don't miss, and it didn't work on him. But we learn that if somebody's injured in the underworld, or as, James put it, if he were to shoot his gun at Robin Hood, then he'd be a permanent resident in the underworld. So, James was going to send Emma and Robin Hood into the River of Lost Souls, but Daddy Charming and Killian come to the rescue, and they, David and James kind of battle it out, and ultimately David had no choice but to throw James into the River of Lost Souls, and it seems to me like James didn't have any redeeming qualities, and, that was his fate. So now let's get on to the good stuff of the episode. The first scene was Zelena and Hades on, I guess, a date, and I really don't trust Hades. I really think he's using Zelena for something, and he shows her the storybook that he built for her and says that this can all be yours. And he points out that in the last episode when Mary Margaret and David did the whole name switching thing, he made sure that everybody now has a tombstone, so now everybody is stuck in the underworld, and Hades wants Zelena and him to go back to Storybrooke, and the heroes would stay down in the underworld. So Hades gets down on one knee and says, "Will you make chaos of me?" I'm like, he couldn't even make a decent proposal. So Regina questions Zelena about where she was, and I think she's genuinely concerned as a sister. She's like looking out for her, but she's also looking out for her and her friends too. And Zelena's kind of pushing her away because she's never had anybody care for her before. And we got a glimpse of both Zelena and Regina's childhood, and this is something that I've been waiting for since season 1 to see how Regina was raised. And it seems Regina was kind of lonely. Like, Cora was always busy and didn't have time for Regina to play with, so Regina was always kind of lonely. And Regina, actually, before Regina goes into Cora's stuff, Cora tells Regina about how, she was the miller's daughter, and she says that, you, need to rely on yourself because then you have the power and you don't have to rely on anybody. And when Regina is, she goes into Cora's desk because, she's curious, like a kid is, and she accidentally, well, she plays with this wand and she accidentally zaps herself, and the only thing that can save her is blood magic. So Cora goes to set out for Zelena, and it must have been heartbreaking for Cora to see Zelena for the first time because she did give Zelena up, and we saw that Zelena's childhood, she was so lonely and she was definitely mistreated, and Cora actually stopped Zelena's adoptive father from, beating her. What looked like it wasn't a whip. It looked like, I don't even know what it was, but she stopped him, and Zelena was able to save Regina, and Cora was quite impressed because she was gonna teach Zelena how to save her, but Zelena already knew, and the look on Cora's face was like, how were you able to do that? And I gotta say, I really enjoyed this scene with Cora and Zelena playing makeup and wearing princess tiaras. That's like, it was so cute and adorable. It's just like how, sisters play. And when they go by Cora's desk again, Zelena touches the box, and only blood magic can open it. So then Regina, starts to think, could we be related? And they don't know that Cora's listening outside the door. And when they go to tell Cora, she does tell them that they are sisters, and they're so happy, they're so excited they finally have somebody. But then Cora says to Regina, I'm disappointed in you. And even I was surprised. I was like, what? She said, I thought I told you earlier that you don't have to you don't rely on anyone. Love is weakness. And she had the guards take Zelena away, and I love Cora, but even I had to admit this scene was kind of hard for me to watch. Zelena was drugged away, and Regina was like crying out for Zelena, and that's when Cora gives Regina this potion, and I guess Zelena, that they'll forget each other. So that was heartbreaking to watch. But we see the last time we saw Cora, her punishment for Hades is that she has to spend eternity as a miller's daughter, and she spots this hook under some hay, so she uses it to kind of beat up the guards, and she sees that it was Hook that saved her. And I thought that was a nice scene because, back in season 2, her and Hook had a nice partnership going on, and they're even friends, and even Cora seemed like she was happy to see her. So Regina and Cora reunite and in the vault, and Regina, apologizes that she couldn't, save her sooner. And Regina tells Cora that Zelena is in the underworld and that she's in love with Hades, and Cora reveals that Zelena is in greater danger than we thought, and the only way that she can that they could stop Hades is that Zelena forgets about Hades permanently. So Regina and Cora take some of the potion from the river, and we find out that river ran along their estate, and Regina questions, like, how did you know that? And Cora's like, oh, don't worry about it. And Regina's wondering how she's going to get back into the house because, her and Zelena didn't have a great night the night before. And Cora says, I think it's time that Zelena met her mother. And I've been waiting for this moment ever since Zelena was introduced in season 3. And Cora and Zelena do meet, and Zelena is like hesitant. I mean, she's hesitant, but this is something she's always wanted, but she hasn't felt that love for so many years. Like, she doesn't know what to do. And her and Cora end up talking, and she asks Cora, do you regret giving me up all those years ago? And Cora does reveal that she is sorry that she gave her up, that she thought she was giving Zelena her best chance, but she corrects herself and says that she thought she was giving herself her best chance, and she was wrong. And that was a big moment for Cora to admit that. I mean, one thing about Cora, I mean, even if you, whether you like Cora or you don't like Cora, one thing that you can say about Cora is that she does admit her mistakes. She does admit that, she has done wrong, and that's hard for anybody to do. But Regina is listening in this whole time, and she was going to use the potion port in water so Zelena would forget about Hades. And when Cora was going to give Zelena the drink, Zelena knew that she was trying to poison her, and Zelena was angry that Cora tried to do that, and Cora's trying to tell her that she was sincere, and Zelena's obviously mad because she feels betrayed by her mom, and she thinks that her and Regina are cut from the same cloth. So, and they're about to have a battle out there. Zelena had her green fire, and Regina had her fireball ready, and Cora actually stopped and said enough, and I thought it was, and she took away their magic. I thought, oh my god, that's so cute. Their mom actually stopped the fight. So Cora takes it, she, in that moment, then gives them their memories back, that they once cared about each other and loved each other when they needed each other, and Zelena and Regina get their memories back, and the tears flood from both sides. The realization that they did love each other, and they can love each other. And Cora tells Regina how proud of her she is, that she did stay down here to protect her family and friends, and that she's a stronger person than she ever was. And she goes to Zelena and calls her my Zelena. I'm like, oh. And she says that I meant what I said, that I regret giving you up. And that just made me think, like, oh my god, she's like saying her goodbyes. I'm like, and oh my god, I'm getting emotional just thinking about this. Sure enough, Zelena and Regina take Cora to where Regina's father Henry went off to the better place, and they're wondering, what do we do? And I had a feeling when when Cora said that her unfinished business was Regina, I'm like, I have to say it was Zelena, and it is confirmed that her unfinished business was reuniting the both of them. And Cora says to Regina that when she died in Storybrooke, they didn't get a chance to say goodbye, and oh my god, they embrace each other and they hug it out, and Cora's crying, Regina's crying, I'm crying, oh my gosh. And Regina goes to Zelena and said, we didn't even get to say hello. And it was so emotional. Like, I literally was crying, like, had tears flowing down my face, because it was just so beautifully written. And I believe this is what Zelena has always wanted. Her mother's love, and to make Cora proud of her. And Cora is proud of both her girls. And she said something, I'm not quite sure about the words. She said that even when we're gone, we still live on in a way. I'm not exactly sure about that, but Cora walks to the edge, and she's engulfed by the flames like Henry was. And sure enough, Cora gets to move on to a happy place. And it's so sad because Cora, I mean, next to Regina, Cora is my favorite character, and to see Cora gone, I mean, my version of A Better Place would be back in Storybrooke where she belongs, and to see her go, now it's confirmed she's gone, it's just, oh my god, it's so sad. I even though Cora's gone now, I'm hoping the writers can have Barbara Hershey come back in flashbacks, I mean, I kind of find it funny they haven't gone a season without adding Cora in it, whether it's her actual character or flashbacks, but Zelena and Regina both hug, which we've never seen them before, and they have Cora to thank for reuniting them, and Regina gives Zelena her blessing to go and be with Hades, and Zelena goes on to see Hades, but Gold stops her. And he's all mad because Zelena is the one who gave Belle sleeping the sleeping curse potion, and Gold did say in this episode in a brief scene that he's gonna do things his way, not the heroic way. And he said that even though they had a deal, he found a loophole, and then all of a sudden you see Peter Pan come up. I'm like, oh my god. And he's like, she's like, what is this? And he says, I heard you're wicked. He said, well, I'm better. And then he throws a bag on her, and that reminds me of back in season 2 when Greg and Tamara put the bag on Zelena and was going to torture her. So I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen next week. It seems like it's going to be a big showdown next week. It seems like from the previews that only true love can get them out of there. And Hook and Emma look like they have a moment. Emma says, I'm not ready to let you go. So we'll have to wait and see next week. I mean, I wasn't ready to let Cora go this week. I'm like, oh, I have to give amazing props to the writers. Like I've mentioned multiple times in this recap, that this was such a beautifully written episode. This is my favorite episode, probably definitely of the whole season, and not so sure about the whole series, but Adam and Eddie did a great job, and Barbara, you were absolutely flawless tonight. You got me. I definitely cried. I'm so sad that Cora is gone. I'm like, ugh. But if you want to see more Barbara Hershey, you can definitely check out Barbara's new show that actually comes on tomorrow. It's her new show, Damien. That's on at 10 p.m. on A&E. And if you want to watch more of Once Upon a Time, it is on Sundays, 8 p.m. on ABC. So if you want to see more of Barbara Hershey, check out her show Damien. You definitely won't regret that. And like, subscribe, and remember, stay regal.